I wanted to look up some information about this song and about the people and things mentioned on the cover art. So this is just a video that I'm making kind of on the fly. I haven't really prepared for this. Looks like in the artwork there we've got the back view of a jester reading a book about riddles and conundrums. A comic song by Vincent Bryan and Harry Von Tilzer. Sung by Dan McAvoy and Claw and Erlanger's big New York production, Mr. Bluebeard. If you look this up, you will discover that Mr. Bluebeard was the play being performed at the Hierarchy Theater on December 30th, 1903 in Chicago, when the infamous Hierarchy Theater fire occurred. Something, they don't know for sure what, caused some scenery to catch fire and it burned the place down. And the place, it was, like this guy says here, it was a death trap. Because of locked doors and fire escapes that were inaccessible, and doors that weren't locked opened inward, which is always a mistake. And you can read all about that. This is a good article about it, written by Adam Seltzer. He has a website called Mysterious Chicago. He's a tour guide and a historian of Chicago. However, this was a different production. This was not the production in which I keep forgetting the name of this song. You'll have to read The Answer in the Stars. Was not in this production. It had plenty of songs that looked kind of interesting, such as Come Buy Our Luscious Fruits. It also has a song in it called The Beer That Made Milwaukee Famous, which I'm going to have to try to look up because there it mentions it. The Beer That Made Milwaukee Famous. The only song I know is a country song with that title. The beer that made Milwaukee famous has made a loser out of me, or something like that. Mr. Bluebeard was a play based on, or a musical based on, the legendary Bluebeard, who married many women just so he could lock them in his basement dungeon and torture them to death until he was finally discovered. And apparently it was not only a comedy based on Bluebeard, it was a comedy children's show about a guy who murders his wives. So, but anyway, that was a different production. This song was not in that production. This song was in a production in New York at the Knickerbocker Theater, which ran for 135 performances during the first part of 1903. And this is all the information for that one. You can see, produced by Claw and Erlanger, music numbers by, here we go, Vincent Bryan, Harry Von Tilzer, and Dan McAvoy. So this song was not performed in the production in which the Hierarchy Theater fire occurred. It was a different production. And that's the only clarification I wanted to make about that. Apparently it was sung by Dan McAvoy in the Mr. Bluebeard musical. But we have this picture of this person named Billy Single Clifford, which means he was probably known for performing it in vaudeville. He was a big vaudeville performer. He was quite famous and successful as a vaudeville artist. And he was an interesting guy. He was born in 1869 and died in 1930. And he came from a musical family, and his family would do like amateur performances in a barn behind their house in Urbana, Ohio. Yeah, there we go. Urbana, Ohio, right there. I wanted to make sure we're in Ohio. Well, I just heard my computer's fan kick on. Must be the screen capture thing using up resources. By the age of 10, he had joined a circus and become a performer in the circus, song and dance stuff. And then he became a vaudeville artist and became a very famous and successful vaudeville artist. And in 1905, he came back to Urbana, and on the site of the barn behind his house, he tore the barn down and built a theater. It was big enough to hold 700 people, had an 80-foot stage, 3 floors, each with separate exit doors. It was a nice theater. It cost him $75,000 in 1905. And this inflation calculator only goes back to 1914, but you can see it was more than $2 million in 2022 dollars that it took him to build that theater. So he was quite wealthy. The only pictures I've been able to find of him are this one on the cover and one other one right here, which isn't very high resolution, but that's all I could find. Well, I don't need that one anymore. His theater, which was called the Clifford Theater, later burned down. Because when you use open flames for lighting and special effects in buildings that aren't especially fireproof, they tend to burn down. A new theater that was called the Clifford Theater was built. Here we go. It was built on a different location, and this is what it looked like in 1941 right here. Well, I guess that's not going to look... Oh, there we go. That's not very big anyway. So that was the theater that looked in 1941. And later that was torn down, and a new movie theater, not a theater, was built on the same site. And this is from 2018, pretty much the present day. It's called the Gloria Theater, and it's just a movie theater. So the original Clifford Theater is gone because it burned down, apparently due to a overheated motor that ran the Wurlitzer organ for the theater. But there's all these historical markers there that tell you all about it now, and this is his house. His house is still standing. There's nothing behind it anymore because the old theater burned down, but that's where he lived. That's where he was born and where he died. So that's all I was able to find out about him. He apparently never made any recordings. I couldn't find any evidence of him ever making any recordings. He must have just been strictly a vaudeville and possibly a theater performer. And that's all I could find about him. I couldn't come up with for Mr. Bluebeard, the one that was in Illinois, that he was able to find a full program of the songs performed and everything, but I couldn't find one of those for the New York production. So I don't know exactly how this song fit in, what it was supposed to do. I did read that this musical basically had no plot. It was just had a very loose storyline that just went basically from song to song and was mostly just for comedic entertainment, and that's about it. But this picture of Billy Clifford on the cover, he looks like a real character. So I wanted to look him up and see what I could find about him. Couldn't find a whole lot, but I told you everything I could find. And this website here is on the historical marker database. If you look up Billy Single Clifford, it'll turn up in your search results. You'll be able to find it easily. Or you could just go to the historical marker database probably and just look him up right on the website and find all this stuff. And it has close-ups of the historical markers, so they're readable. So that's all I got. Thank you very much.